What's going on, guys? And I have an important announcement. As you guys have seen on Facebook, the Warcry Podcast now has a merch store through Redbubble. What you'll do is you'll hit that link below, select the logo that you like. You know, we got a wolf logo, we got that Bigfoot scratch or the Dogman scratch logo. Once you select the logo, you'll go down and hit your styles. If you want a T-shirt, if you want a sweatshirt, or if you want different things, or a sticker or whatever. You'll select the color of that, and then your size, and then you hit that checkout button. And hitting that checkout button and getting that T-shirt supports the podcast. And I appreciate everyone that listens, and it's amazing, and I do truly appreciate it. But with that said, let's get to the episode. So run me my music. It's very, very dangerous.
Get these spidey sense, I was like, oh, something's off.
I'm just like, man, I'm waiting to hear something,
Get that crowd warmed up. It's Mr. Yahola Tiger.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to the 49th edition of the Warcry Podcast. I'm your host, Yahola Tiger, and on this episode, we're going to be diving back into some mysterious disappearances. And one thing about, true crime, it's true. And sometimes it is kind of hard to talk about true crime, especially in the state of Oklahoma. We have people that go missing quite a bit. I know certain states are that way. And, eventually I'll be talking about this highway that goes through basically the entire country, and there's a serial killer that was frequent that. And what's kind of crazy too, kind of not on topic of this, but the FBI did some type of survey, I want to say about 5 to 10 years ago, and they said that there's possibly active like 200 serial killers, and like a certain percentage of them are truck drivers, which is kind of crazy. Just thinking truck drivers are out here wilding out, but it's kind of crazy. But on this episode, I'm going to be talking about the Jamison family out of Eufaula, Oklahoma. And this story has been covered quite a bit. I would say, I was doing some research and looking into who's talked about it. And, it's talked about, but it's not talked about like, the Girl Scouts murders or anything like that. But one thing that struck me as odd about this is that, I did an episode about cults. And there's some of that, going on. But the Jamison family disappeared in 2009, looking at some property out, I think it's the San Boys Mountains, and near, I think it's Kenta. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but near that town. And one thing that was kind of crazy about that is they both were unemployed and they both were on disability. And when they went to find, or when they realized that they were missing and they went and found their truck, the crazy part about it to me is I've looked at land and I've looked at property before, and you basically take everybody, but they left their dog, that's crazy. Leaving your dog in there, and the dog survived, ate its own feces and survived off that until, the authorities came and, saw the truck. But another weird thing about it is they had all their belongings in there. Wallets, letters, coats, clothing, all types of stuff in there. But the weird thing about it is there's like $32,000 of money in that. And that's kind of interesting because, if you look at their situation, they had kind of had some financial problems. They also were dealing with things that are unexplained. And we kind of kick it back to, what happened to them. They just disappeared. And one thing that is very odd, and I'll get into some theories now. So they go missing, and they find their body in November 2013. When they get the bodies back from the autopsies, it's inconclusive. They don't know what happened to them. The bodies were so, majorly decayed, and it was basically just bones. But they found all three family members about 3 miles from the truck where they found it. And the first theory, which I think is a good one, they were probably on drugs, probably owed somebody some money, and they were trying to weasel their way out of that in some form or fashion. And, possibly, they could have got took. Your life could have got took. All three of them. I saw some theories out there that basically, they were using that as like ransom money. Their daughter was kidnapped or something of the nature, and they were using that money for ransom. That was another theory that I saw. Another theory that I find very interesting, and I maybe don't think it's as likely, but the dad, Bob, was having trouble with his dad, and basically his dad was working him for free, so he would work at this family business that they owned, and he wouldn't pay, and he was supposed to get a cut of that profit, and maybe it could have been something with the family. We always look in every investigation. They always talk about it's always someone in the family or someone close. At the time that they were going through this, or they disappeared, they sued other family members, and allegedly put out a protective order against the dad, against Bobby's dad, because he, I guess, essentially was just crazy. They said that he, in the affidavit, they talked about the father, Jamison, said that basically his dad was a very powerful man, and he was very involved in the drug trade, sex trafficking, things of that nature, and he was involved in a lot of things in that nature. And he hit him with a car, beat him up. I was like, dang, he's like 67 years old out here just wilding out, just going crazy. But he had said that in that affidavit, so that was some issues that they were going through, with his dad. The next theory is that, that they were under possession, that they were possessed. And I find it very interesting after the fact when they were going through the investigation, and they had a home family security camera. And when they were looking at that camera, they noticed that the Jamisons were leaving on that day, or somewhere near it, or like before, basically packing, but they looked weird. And I think the thing that's kind of strange to me is, the sheriff at the time, Sheriff Beecham, he had said or he and news articles had said that they looked like they were in a trance, like they were just walking, but there was no, like, some people just walk and they kind of tell that there's light, that some be walking the way they walk. Well, they said these people are kind of almost robotic. And a really strange kind of, part of that is when they would like unload stuff, like, and put it like kind of in a trance like state, they would just stare off into space for a decent amount of time. So like they would put the stuff up and they would just stare. And, multiple news articles basically said that they kind of just off into space for a minute or two, which is kind of creepy. Because if you've seen those Exorcist movies, you're like, they'll do that, like looking off into space and there's just no life in the eyes. I can imagine that now, but that was another theory that they were maybe possessed, and they could have did something. But another, like, kind of a caveat to that, and some more information came out later on. But their pastor, the pastor come out and gave some information that essentially that the dad was essentially asking for, he called special bullets. And he had confessed to this pastor or this priest about basically their house being haunted, and that their house had multiple spirits in it, and that the younger daughter was not influenced, I'd say, but was taking recommendations from the youngest, what she said was youngest spirit, which I think that's kind of crazy. Because we always talk about, or I've talked about, like, imaginary friends. And, if my daughters have imaginary friends, no. Not today. We're going to do something to this house. We're going to do something. I've seen too many movies where that imaginary friend was not an imaginary friend. But they said that the daughter had become friends with this spirit. And there was a lot of weird stuff. And the father, he was like, went to the priest and was like, man, how do we get special bullets to get rid of these spirits? And that he also had confessed that he had been studying a satanic Bible. And another caveat to that same is that the wife, Cheryl Lynn, she had said and admitted to a friend that she had purchased, quote unquote, in jest, and that she had purchased a Bible, an occult Bible, and was studying it and reading it. And she was doing it out of like mockery of that, I guess, religion or something, I guess. But I think that's very interesting, that they were into those things, but like they didn't want to be, to me, it sounds like they were into it and they didn't know how to be not into it. Like, it was so intriguing to them that they did these things, and now they had spirits and they had witchcraft Bibles. Well, then this leads me to the final theory. And at the time, multiple people around them said that they had become very like fanatically religious, and that they were a part of this like ritual, like not ritual, religious cult. And at the time that when they disappeared, there was a lot of these specials running, and a friend of the mother, which her last name is like Kokatan, Miss Kokatan is what I'll call her. She got a call from a friend of hers that was in that area, and they said basically she had found out that they were a part of a religious white supremacist group out in southeast Oklahoma. And the crazy thing about that is in the Oklahoma back in like 93 or 92, they had come out, and I read the article, like basically it just sums up that, hey, yeah, there are religious white supremacist type of cults in that area, but they haven't had any movement on like if they were disturbing the public or anything like that. And basically the FBI and the local authorities kind of just chalked it up to just people being, living with their own people, I guess. But the friend told Miss Kokatan, which is Cheryl Lynn Jamison's mother, told her that, hey, they were actually on the hit list for some reason. And I found, and she found that out somehow, which kind of makes me wonder if the mother was the one that introduced them, because how would she have a friend that knew those people? Well, to go along with that theory is the mother came out in a Daily Mail article and also did an interview with the Oklahoman and denied that all her family were a part of, like they were not into witchcraft, they were not doing that, but they were a target because they had spoken out against this cult, which is odd. How would she know that? Or how would she assume that? And that they did have different types of ghosts and different activity following him. And like I said, the very strange thing, and this is another thing that kind of goes back to missing 411, is that they will search an area and then the bodies will be found, sometime after in the same location that they looked. And that's what happened in 2013 is they, combed that area, every area around that truck, and, the investigators chalked it up to, oh, well, it was just a tree on top of them. Well, if you found the body in plain area with no shrubs around it, but you could tell it was human bones, like, come on, something's off. But that cult thing is very interesting because we do have those in that, and especially in that area. There, like I said, I mentioned the Oklahoman article that talked about, I'm sure it's probably grown or, maybe is now defunct. But that last theory is very intriguing to me, because why would the mother come out and deny those and basically say that, oh, it was a cult hit list. They were on that list. And why were they on that list? The mother also came out and said that basically that her daughter was acting erratic. They drove to Oklahoma City and he basically kicked her out of the car, like didn't allow her to, be there anymore. Which, if y'all knew my mom would be looking at me crazy. But, excuse me. But it's just very interesting, what happened to them. And to this day, I know there's still people out there that are trying to figure it out. And, it's just crazy that like 10 years later, or just a little over 10 years, that there's still basically no resolve in that case. And, I follow a cold case group on Facebook out of Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma Cold Cases. And I've seen that. That's, how I kind of came across this case. But I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And I've stated this multiple times that area, it's like Eufaula and Chakotah in that area falls in like a weird area. It's just a very strange area, and like south of that, and then in the southeast, it's just a very strange area. But let me know if you have heard this case, or this is something that maybe you put it on the back burner, didn't really think about it. Because like I said, there's still no resolve in that case, and the circumstances surrounding it is very weird. Oh, before I kind of put a close on that fourth theory I talk about with the cult, there was a weird like messages in the truck, and one of them said, and I'm going to try to remember, but it was said 3 cats killed due to buying people, and it said at the end it was like, you must not kill a person's black cat, which is a very strange message. Like if you heard that and you're like, man, that actually, I think I know what that means. Let me know, because I sat here and thought about it. I was like, I don't really know what that means, but we always talk about witchcraft and black cats, and then black cats symbolizing, darkness, or, a type of trick, that someone can be played. But let me know what you think about this case. It's very interesting. But to close us out on the episode, I was on Squatch and Holler December 5th. And, shout out to him. I appreciate him having me on. We talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff. And, he came with some good questions. And so I'd like to shout him out on this episode. I know this episode's dropping. I don't know when it's dropping, but anyways. But like I said, go back and give him a like or subscribe, and, follow me on YouTube, subscribe. I'm like at 340 something, 320 something. I can't remember. I haven't looked, but go, follow, like, subscribe, share it out on YouTube. And then obviously Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and basically everywhere where podcasts are heard. I appreciate everyone that has continued to support the podcast. I'm going to continue to say that every episode. We're almost at 15,000. I kind of took a break in November, dropped obviously the year anniversary, and then had one episode after that, and that was kind of early years, but we're going to get back moving, maybe a little bit of a break during the holiday, especially, Christmas is on a Monday this year. Can y'all tell me how terrible that is? Like, let's get rid of the leap year. Let's just do it. Christmas needs to be on a Thursday, Christmas Eve needs to be on a Thursday, Christmas on a Friday, and then everybody get that 4-day weekend. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? We need to get that back. But Christmas being on a Monday is absolutely horrendous, and we need to do something about this. We need to, not count a couple days or something. I don't know, but like I said, I appreciate it. And merch store, don't forget that. Christmas is coming up. There'll be deals. Hit the link that in the description or in the bio, and go follow me on TikTok, Warcry Pod. And then if you got a story, This is Creepy 5 will be coming out New Year's Day. That's coming up quick. I know I've gotten a few stories so far, but don't forget to send your story in. I'll keep you anonymous. We'll do the whole thing. I'll just, give me a kind of an area. You can say a county. You can just give me an area, and we'll get it rocking. But I appreciate those that listen and continue to support the podcast, and I'll catch you on the next one.